At some point, your conviction just gets tested. I'll give you $1 million to change who you are, how you do your art, and what matters to you. What would you do? Would you take it? Would you change? That can really tell whether or not you believe in your art, in who you are, in what matters to you. That is a great challenge in all of our lives. At some point, your conviction just gets tested. Imagine you're an artist and you spend 2-3 years working on the most important project, and you're just about to release it to the public in your gallery, or you're about to launch it, or you're about to finally show people it. It's your pride and joy. And someone comes along and says, hey, I don't like that. I'll give you $1 million to change that. I'll give you $1 million. Would you take it? Would you change? This is an episode about that feeling, and a story that's probably one of the wildest stories in publishing in, I don't know, the last 10, 15 years that maybe you've never heard of before. And when you hear this, it's going to remind you that as you go to do great things in your life, people are not going to like it. There's going to be a lot of defiance. There's going to be internal defiance, which is that self-limitation we've been talking about. That idea that maybe you don't believe in yourself, or you shoot yourself down, or you shame yourself, or you shut yourself down. But other people also jump on the bandwagon and say, what you're doing, I don't like it. And so at some point you realize that when you switch your brain into progress mode, it's a little bit of a requirement to have conviction, to have belief beyond what would even seem normal, to have conviction in a sense of urgency and a sense of personal power, to do what is important to you. Otherwise, you end up with some type of abandoned life, a sense of an inner world that says, I didn't do my thing. I'm not living authentically. And that is a great challenge in all of our lives. I decided to pull away a little bit. And I retreated to this place to write my next book. And I was always doing something I want to tell you about in your journey of progress mode. When I was going to write my next book, I already had this pattern in my life where every book that I was going to do, I was going to learn and teach myself a new style of writing. I want you to listen really closely, even if you're not a writer. When you have a passion in your life, when you have a career, when you want to do something over the long term and make progress mode towards it for a long time, consistency, discipline, endurance, persistence, if there's a long path in front of you that you know is right for you, you must continually shake yourself up. You need to challenge yourself to develop new skills. You need to ask, how could I do this in a new way so that you stay fresh at it? Not because you need, to innovate all the time, but internally, you need that refresh of new skill. You need that refresh of new angles. So if you didn't know this, for me, every single book I've written has been in a completely different voice, right? You don't read my books and go, oh, there's Brendon sharing stories. My books are frameworks about topics in motivation, personal development, high performance, and psychology. I'm going to write on motivation, but what's the new style I want to figure out? And I started thinking about what happens for people that prevents them from living into their greatness. Well, I thought, they play small. And then because they play small, they compromise and they compromise and they compromise and they compromise. And suddenly they're not even living their own life anymore. They're living in accordance to other people's expectations. They lost their sense of personal freedom, that sense of authenticity and expression that is uniquely them, and the guts and the courage to pursue what is right for them, unencumbered by other people's demands. Remember, self-limitation, social oppression. If you want great progress in your life, I need you to get obsessed about something. I need you to become a little bit maniacal about something. I need you to look into the greater details of something. So many people in their life, they're always skimming at surface levels. And because they're skimming at surface levels, they never have great leaps of progress. There's no innovation. There's no bold move. There's no deep understanding of excellence or skill set. So they advance so slow because they didn't master something. What is something you know already you need to master? A skill or a topic you need to dive way deeper on if you're honest. Maybe you got to figure out some type of technology, some topic you need to read more books on. You know, the great leaders, the people who really break through, they are ferocious in how much they read. Go read anything about the great leaders in history, and you'll see one thing. They were ferocious in reading and studying, and they were self-starters in their studying. They went to the libraries and got the books. They did their research. They sought out the experts. Like, they went deep. What do you need to go deep on at this stage of your life? Because in depth, you will find a different level of mastery and freedom. Flying superficially, you'll live in reaction mode. Your art will be, soft, simple. It will be something that just does not ever break through. And I really want you to hear me. It's important for you to go deep. It's important for you to allow yourself to geek out on something. I spent two and a half years of studying revolutionist rhetoric. And I realized that, that 1700s to mid 1800s, there's this rhythm of writing and speaking that was so unique and so much change in the world that you started seeing happening even before the, early 19th century. I was like, oh, okay, I love this way of writing. And it kind of was as I was reading things like the Declaration of Independence from the United States of America. I was reading that. I was like, oh, it's so interesting how they're framing this problem and how they're speaking here. I decided to open the book of the Motivation Manifesto in that style. After the Millionaire Messenger hit #1 in the New York Times, as I shared a lot of the publishing companies, they wanted me to do marketing. And we turned down huge deals to do that. And one publisher called Simon & Schuster believed in my vision for personal development, for what became The Charge. This is my last episode. I talked about The Charge, activating the 10 human drives that make you feel alive. And so they believed in that book, and we did a 2-book deal with them without even knowing exactly what it was going to be. And that 2-book deal was a $2 million book deal, that level. So this is huge. Right? This is a huge deal. Hey guys, it's Brendon. I'm jumping in here real quick. First, I want to make sure you've gone to progressmode.com to join the newsletter because I have a resource for you related to this episode. And I have an upcoming meetup with my private group, Ultra. If you've ever liked to be in a private group with me, where I help you get more progress towards your passion projects or to build your business or your brand in a bigger way, just go to progressmode.com, click on private group to apply to see if you can get into Ultra, and we can take it to the next level by getting in person and meeting up virtually once a month online as well. Just go to progressmode.com. The Charge comes out. I disappear to work on Motivation Manifesto. Sometimes you have to disappear. You got to work those late night hours where nobody sees you doing it. You got to take a weekend and go away to that cafe and work on your manifesto, your dream, your project. Sometimes you got to go do something that no one anticipated. And I mean, you really need to disappear. I want you to work on something in your life that maybe nobody knows about. That will energize you. That will motivate you. That will bring you back again. And I was disappearing from the road. I was literally going to this place to write what became the Motivation Manifesto. It was a big like philosophical time in my life. I felt like I was coming back to life working on this huge art project, right? And I was so excited about it because this company, Simon & Schuster, was like offering this huge advance, and I'm away working on this book. But listen to what happens. I go into a level of detail in this book, irresponsibly geeky, right? I turn it in to the editor. Editor at this publishing house gets it, edits it, writing on the margins. There are pages after pages where the person just crosses out the page in red ink, like page after page. There are notes in the side of the page is saying, this makes no sense. Are you on drugs? It was not a nice, it was like, imagine you get your art back. There's hundreds of pages basically saying, really, like literally questioning your sanity. I tell my agent, I'm like, I think this person really hates this book. And, when you are an author and you spent a lot of time on something, there is a true part of you that wonders if you're crazy. Many of you have never entered real progress mode in your life because you're so sensitive about your creations and your art that you hold them back. You never shipped the thing. You never put it out there. You never put it up on the wall. You never got in the gallery because it does scare you that people might hate it. It's hard to stay in progress mode the more difficult or awful or mean feedback you get. But that's exactly why I'm doing this podcast for you. Progress mode. As I've said over and over, you have to switch yourself into progress mode. No one else is going to do it. You got to slide that green little thing over and you got to go. You got to wake up and switch your brain into progress mode. During the day, when somebody, refutes you, is mean to you, makes fun of you, you still have to complete the day. You still have to make progress, even if there's judgment. That is part of personal freedom. That's the very thing I was writing about. So now I get this feedback. I have a conversation with this person. We have some emails back and forth. And this person just will not budge. And I want to share with you where it went. Even after my agent got involved a little bit, because some of the language this person was using back to me was not professional. It was very inappropriate. And so at some point, though, this editor comes back and says, essentially, Brendon, this is a big book contract, and we don't believe that the Motivation Manifesto is something we can publish. We believe it is unpublishable and unmarketable. We want you to change this book. We want you to make Motivation Manifesto about you. You're this coach. People want to know your story. So change the book or we won't publish it and you need to give our money back. We go to the publisher. We say, hey, this editor is giving some pretty remarkably negative feedback, using language that is not appropriate for the profession. Remember, I've been in the publishing industry. I can take hard feedback, but there's also something called professionalism and collaboration. And so we go to this person's boss, really. And the boss sides with the editor and says, nope, I stand with my editors. If this editor's saying, you need to change the book, we need you to change the book. And this comes to a head. I just want to paint the scene. I'm at an event, one of our seminars. I'm tired. And I get the note from my agent. They're not going to budge. You either change the book or the deal's dead. And I just want you to think about that. I know it sounds maybe like, yeah, Brendon, whatever, but I just want you to think for a minute. What if you spent 3 years on your passion project? And when you shipped it, someone literally said to you, hey, I want you to change entirely what you just did for 3 years. I want you to change it. Otherwise, no one will ever see it. But hey, I'll give you $1 million to change who you are, how you do your art, and what matters to you. What would you do? That is where you can really tell if your brain is in authentic progress mode. That can really tell whether or not you believe in your art, in who you are, in what matters to you. That will tell you whether you compromise your art and your values and your voice and who you are for other people's demands, expectations, or money. Is this book worth the fight? Is it worth it? Because it's not just a book about them saying change it or give our money back, it means I don't have a publisher. It means, it means this book might not come out for years, because now I got to go find another publisher, and they're going to go, oh, they dumped you? So there's reputation. So I'm thinking, is this worth the fight? There's going to be a fight. I'm going to have to go through like legal stuff to get out of this deal. I'm going to have to figure out money stuff to get them paid back. I'm going to have to spend another year or two on a project. I'm already 3 years in. I've tried to paint this all. Maybe, I know I'm not always like, this might not be a relatable story, okay? I'm just telling you what happened. So I take the book, and I knew this great publisher of Wayne Dyer's books. It's called Hay House. I call up Reed Tracy, and I say, Reed, my friend, I'm in a conundrum. I need to leave this publisher, and I don't even want to talk about a publishing deal. I have a favor. Can I send you the first chapters of my book? And would you tell me if it sucks? I just need to hear it. And he goes, I'll read it tonight. Send the Motivation Manifesto to Reed. Writes to me in the morning, goes, this is fantastic. I'll publish it. It's like, oh my God. Okay. I shared with you in other episodes, sometimes one person who believes in you. That's all you need. You don't need them. You don't need the world. You don't need the audience. Sometimes you just got to check yourself with somebody you trust, somebody who has your heart in their mind. Just one person. Just one. And I had the blessing that Denise, she liked the book. She saw me late 2, 3 in the morning. I'm reading biographies after biographies on Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin. She's like, why? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just geeking out on this stuff. She believed in me. My agent believed in me, but the people who were going to distribute me did not. And they wanted their money back. And so shout out to Reed for believing in the kid. And we put the book out there after they turned it down, after they hated it, after they took their money back. And it became an instant New York Times bestselling book. And the Motivation Manifesto goes to spend, 6 months on the New York Times bestseller list.